Hey everybody, hope your day is going well. You know, it's interesting. As a coach, I think there's an assumption that I do all of the teaching. And I would really have to say that, probably like many of you out there, the learning part and where it comes from always surprises me. I really think that the reason I'm here doing what I do is I really have this burning appetite to learn new stuff. I'm just endlessly sort of curious about that. And that means sometimes you'll get inspiration from the unlikeliest of places. I was recently working with someone who introduced me to the concept of a talent stack. And I looked into it, and I really want to share with you a couple of key insights about this. Because if you understand this concept, I think it's going to make the speed at which you rise in your career and take things to a new level to a whole other place. It's really a wonderful way of thinking about it. So here's the idea. In the old days, the thinking was become one of the best of the best at one thing. In other words, become an amazing specialist at one thing. Like, think of an interventional heart surgeon. One thing. He just specializes, or she specializes in absolutely one thing. They're known throughout the world for that. Obviously, there will always be a place for specialists like that. But as our world has changed and the needs of different industries have changed, what's been happening is that has been started to get de-emphasized in favor of a different kind of professional. And what people have figured out is this. You don't necessarily have to just be in the top 1% of one thing. That's not the only route to success. Another route is, instead of being in the top 1% for one thing, can you possibly be in the top 25% or 30% for two things or three things? Now, think about it. It's going to be infinitely easier to reach the top third of something versus the top 1% of something, because the amount of competition and what you have to do to reach the absolute cream of the crop in any one thing, it's going to take all of your attention and energy and focus. Huge investment there. But getting in the top third, that's way easier, okay? That is a different ballgame. And so what people are figuring out is, what are my skills or abilities that are in that top 30%? And then what other skills can I develop, not to that level, not to top 30% level, but top 50% or even bottom 20 or 30%? What secondary skills and tertiary skills can I develop that will be used to bolster my main ones and just add this incredible fuel to the mix? And they develop their careers that way, thinking in that way. Let me give you an example, because I was thinking about this for myself. One of my biggest tier 1 skills is writing. And I'm not going to spend this video patting myself on the back, but I am truly world class at that. I'm a published author. I spent over a decade as a journalist. I have written my entire life, and now when I work with clients, of course, I will develop their resumes, LinkedIn profiles, other tools for taking their career further. There is no one who does it better than I do. There are only people who do their own thing at that similar level. It is absolutely one of my tier 1 skills. Similarly, speaking, because I used to be an actor, because I'm a seasoned performer, speaking, influencing, rapport building, providing energy and focus into a situation and really just quickly sparking it towards a desired outcome, that's another huge tier 1 skill for me. And I would say that for both of those, we're talking real cream of the crop, easily in the top third. Okay, great, wonderful. And I'm sure if you're thinking about this, I would like your brain to start moving into the direction of, okay, what are my tier 1 skills? It's okay to have just one, but you may have more than that. Now, tier 2. And here, even though these are not my marquee skills, these are not the reason why people will seek me out to work with me, these are not the reason or the topics that I'm going to be presenting on, tier 2 skills are the secret sauce that have allowed me to go from struggling and not knowing where my next meal is going to come from sometimes, certainly know how I could pay rent, into, everything that I have today. Here's a couple of them for me. Okay, now keep in mind, I am nowhere close to the top 30% in any of these skills. Okay? But I built something from 0% in each of these areas. Here's one. Fast learning. I am one of the quickest learners and appliers of knowledge that you're ever going to see. If someone gives me a piece of actionable insight now, if I have 5 minutes, I'm going to do it right now. There is no gap. There is no procrastination for me. I jump into it. And luckily, I also have a wife who keeps me accountable. So in those moments that I fail, she's the one who's tapping me on the shoulder going, Anish, why do I keep seeing this thing in your calendar, playing hopscotch from Monday to Tuesday to Wednesday? Just do it. So fast learning and application is one of my tier 2 skills. Here's another one. I'm proficient in technology. I am absolute bush league compared to a real tech person or a tech executive or a professional. I have none of those skills. All I'm saying is, if you give me a new platform or something to use, if you say, okay, Anish, develop a website really quickly on Squarespace, a website builder, or figure out how to use a social media channel or an automation channel for that, something simple, or figure out how to develop a email list. I can do those things. A lot of times I'll figure it out, fast learning and application, but I know my way around tech. I'm definitely not a novice nor a professional. I'm usable with it, and that's one of my tier 2 skills. And here's another one. I'm absolutely obsessed with productivity, and I'm always experimenting with workflows and the way I do things to shave off an extra couple of minutes here, to find an extra 5 minutes or 10 minutes here, to squeeze in an extra thing here, or structure my days, or structure what I do to get to the same result faster. So that also is easily one of my tier 2 skills. These tier 2 skills, even though they don't get the attention in the room as the writing and the speaking skills and the influencing skills, these are the things that have made me successful. Because when you add in fast learning and application to someone who can write, someone who can influence, someone who can coach, when you add in tech proficiency, boom, now you've got a whole company that's spreading its tentacles online. You're figuring out how to get customers. You're figuring out how business development works. Fast learning, you're constantly adding new skills. And in fact, I'm always looking to add value. So new products, new services for the people that I'm working with, new ways to sort of engage there. And then productivity, that allows me to do essentially the work of 3 to 4 people easily. Not out of ego, but because for many years I was the definition of a solopreneur. It was only me, running the show. So you have to do that, and when you run a small business as I do these days, even though I work with people, I'm still doing a crazy amount of work, right? So that productivity thing is absolutely essential to my survival, and so that I can see and spend quality time with my family, which is the reason why I do all of this stuff. So the tier 2 skills, do you see how adding in the right tier 2 skills can turbocharge your tier 1s? That's how you should be thinking about learning, development, training, and future career opportunities. So how can I develop, not my tier 1, you're going to develop those anyway, but what are some tier 2 things that I can get good at that are going to just explode what I do on the tier 1? Another example would be, let's say I'm a doctor and I've got unbelievable clinical skills. Okay, great. But now what if I decide to start taking some business classes and not hugely, but over the period of whatever, a couple of years, I build up a business base and a business administration base to the point where now, instead of just being a clinician, I can run my own practice. I can hire people. I can grow that. I can take that to a new level. I can even maybe spin that into healthcare leadership at huge healthcare systems if I want to eventually. Do you see how this tier 2, which started very, very humbly, has totally transformed this person's professional sights and what he can do? That's what you want to be thinking about. So don't just learn something to learn something. Do it if you're interested with it. But when you're talking about developing your career, think about what are the tier 2 that's going to be nitro to my career, right? What are the things that I can do where even if I add a little bit, it's going to be transformative in terms of where I go next. One final one, because I really don't want to give the impression that this is the Anish tooting his own horn show. I'm very proud of a lot of things that I've done, but believe me, I've made every mistake in the book. And one for me, just to give you an encouragement to even take one little step today on developing this tier 2 and broadening your talent stack, which is what this is all about. For many years, pretty much through right up until I was in my 30s, I pretty much ignored money. I never had any financial footing there. My parents never taught me anything like budgeting or anything like that. I basically ignored it, and so obviously my finances became catastrophic. And there was a period there where it looked like my family and I might be heading towards bankruptcy. That's how serious it was in my late 20s. Can you imagine having to deal with that? So I decided I'm going to learn a little bit about this. So I started taking some classes. I started absorbing videos. My man Dave Ramsey, who's to this day still, his classes, his programs, and his YouTube show, I would digest that every day. I'd have it playing every day. It was like my mantra. It was my go-to. And that knowledge really saved me because I learned a couple of basic things. Okay, I learned how to budget. I learned how to plan for the future. I started learning about what my options were for retirement and saving for my kids' college. Very, very basic, fundamental stuff, but stuff that I didn't know. And so here's my point. That's not a tier 2. That's not a tier 3. That's maybe like a tier 10 in terms of what I can do. And I will never, ever, ever, ever be close to mastery when it comes to financial management. That is for other people. That's not for me. I increased my capabilities in that maybe twofold or threefold, right? I just got a little baseline. That baseline has given my entire family a future. That baseline allows me to sleep at night and allows me to wake up not worrying about how we're going to pay the mortgage or how we're going to do the bills or how we're going to grow the business. It keeps us on track, and it has utterly changed my life. So that's my point is, whatever you learn, if you're strategic about learning it and you're strategic about making even a couple of changes, it will completely change your life. So here's my advice to you. When you're thinking about career growth, okay, final takeaway. Don't think about adding a tier 1 skill. A tier 1 skill will take you years and years and years to do. Instead, think about developing a tier 2 or even a tier 3 if it's something that you know is mission critical that you need to learn. Focus on these secondary skills, get a little modicum of proficiency there, and you're going to see that it has this magnification effect across every other thing that you do, and now you are setting yourself up as someone unique. That's the goal, right? You want to be super, super unique about this. You want people, when they meet you and get an understanding of you, to say, there's no way that I can directly compare this person. And when you do that, you win. You call your own shots. So I hope that has been helpful to you. Thanks for learning along with me. And in this video, there's going to be a link that's going to link to a couple of wonderful free resources that are available right now out there in the lovely interwebs that I am proficient in that will help you as well if you're brainstorming new career paths. I found them to be very helpful, and I do use them when I work with clients. So I hope that has been helpful. I will talk to you guys soon. Thank you. Have a wonderful, wonderful rest of the day.